Hello there and welcome to the Catholic Focus, your trusted window into the life of the Church, society and the world. I'm Sasha Elizabeth.
And I'm Charles Pamaton, and our sign language interpreter is Eric Maluki.
Well, we bring you in-depth coverage of the people, events and spiritual moments shaping our faith.
Tonight we begin with somber news from the Vatican as global church mourns the passing of Pope Francis, a shepherd whose voice echoed across continent and art alike.
From his final rites in Rome to local tributes here in Kenya, we trace the journey of a pope who redefined leadership through compassion and courage.
The world continues to mourn the passing of Pope Francis, the beloved head of the Catholic Church, whose legacy of humility, inclusivity, and compassion touched millions across the globe.
Now preparations are in top gear at the Vatican ahead of his set to take place this Saturday, April 26th at the iconic St. Peter's Basilica. Our reporter Maureen Kimani starts us off with details from the Vatican City.
On Saturday, 26th April at 10 a.m., the eyes of the world will turn to the Vatican for the funeral mass of the late Roman Pontiff Pope Francis. The ceremony will take place at the parish of St. Peter's Basilica following the ancient liturgical traditions outlined in the Ordo Exequiarum Romani Pontifices. Presiding over the funeral liturgy will be Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, Dean of the College of Cardinals. He will be joined by patriarchs, cardinals, archbishops and bishops, expected to arrive by 8:30 a.m. in their full ceremonial attire, bearing white mitre, amices, surplices, cinctures and red stoles. After the solemn Eucharistic celebration, the final rites Ultimo Commendatio and Valedictio will be observed before the Holy Father's coffin is carried from the Basilica of St. Peter's to the Basilica of St. Mary Major for burial. According to the Vatican protocol, members of the Papal Chapel who wish to attend but not concelebrate must seek official notification and will take their positions on the parish by 9 a.m. adorned in full choral habit. This funeral marks not only the end of a pontificate but the celebration of a papacy defined by compassion for the marginalized, calls for peace, and a radical shift toward a more inclusive church. Reporting for Catholic Focus, I'm Maureen Kimani.
Still in Rome, the world is mourning the loss of a spiritual giant, Pope Francis, the 266th leader of the Catholic Church, has died, marking the end of a transformative era defined by humility, reform, and global outreach.
Now from Vatican City, final preparations are underway for a funeral that is expected to draw thousands, including world leaders, dignitaries, and the faithful from across the globe. Our reporter, Charles, now brings us the latest on the final rites and what really happens next in the life of the Church.
At exactly 8 p.m. Monday evening in the chapel of Casa Santa Marta, the Vatican carried out a sacred rite, the formal declaration of death and placement of body of Pope Francis into the coffin. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camelengo of the Holy Roman Church, presided over the solemn moment, joined by Cardinal Pietro Parolin and Archbishop Edgar Penapara. Soon after, the papal apartments in the Apostolic Palace and the late Pope resident at Casa Santa were sealed, an age-old protocol to secure all personal documents and effects. This marks the beginning of what is known as the sede vacante, the period when the papal seat is vacant. During this time, the Camelengo assumed temporary authority over Vatican City, but without the power to make major church decisions. According to tradition and the Vatican's Apostolic Constitution, Universi Domici Gregis, preparations are now underway for the Pope funeral and for the conclave that will elect his successor. The late Pope's fisherman's ring will be destroyed to prevent forgery, and his body will lie in state in St. Peter's Basilica. A funeral mass scheduled for Saturday, 26th of April at 11 a.m. East African time will draw world leaders and pilgrims alike, and the world gathers to bid farewell to the beloved shepherd of the Catholic Church, who served for over 12 years. Meanwhile, the first general congregation of cardinals is scheduled for Tuesday morning, where they are expected to set a date for the funeral and begin laying the groundwork for the conclave.
The process of the conclave will commence, where cardinals who are eligible to vote or elect a new pope will meet in the Sistine Chapel, and we look forward that they will get a successor who is equally good, who can lead the church.
When the time comes, cardinals under the age of 80 will gather in the Sistine Chapel to vote under oath and complete secrecy until white smoke rises, signifying the election of a new pope. And when that moment arrives, a familiar phrase will echo once more from the balcony of St. Peter's, Habemus Papam, we have a new pope.
Now, still on the death of the Holy Father, he broke centuries-old barriers and breathed new life into the Church's mission on care for creation, justice and inclusion. And as tributes continue to pour in following the death of Pope Francis.
As Elizabeth, take us a closer look at some of the Pope's boldest and most unforgettable moments, from empowering women in the Church, leadership to challenging world leaders on corruption and climate actions.
For many years, women in the Church have often found themselves sidelined when it comes to leadership, but Pope Francis challenged that tradition, most notably by appointing the first ever woman secretary of a Vatican dicastery. Sister Simona Brambilla's historic appointment to the dicastery for Institute of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life marked a powerful moment of inclusion at the highest levels of the Catholic leadership hierarchy.
Bambino nel grembo di sua madre, come quella dell'anziano o del malato.
In his eyes, every life is precious. The life of a child in the mother's womb, as well as the lives of the elderly and the sick.
On matters of the environment, his groundbreaking 2015 encyclical Laudato Si called for urgent care for our common home. In it, Pope Francis drew connections between ecological destruction, poverty, and inequality, a message that would later come alive in the globally acclaimed documentary The Letter, amplifying the voices of climate-affected communities across continents. But he wasn't just the spiritual leader of Catholics, he was a global father figure. He reached across religious, cultural and class divides, visiting war-torn and impoverished nations like Iraq and the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, with a message of peace, dignity and reconciliation. In Kenya, during his 3-day tour in 2015, Pope Francis left a lasting impression by calling out corruption in no uncertain terms, branding it a path to death.
Alipokuja Kenya na vile alikashifu ufisadi, akasema ni kama kansa, ugonjwa ambao unakula unamaliza mtu pole pole. Na nina matumaini kwamba Wakenya wakati huo watu walisema kweli ametuguza, ametugonga, lakini ilikuwa tuna maneno tu, kwa sababu hata baada ya kuongea na ukali kuhusu ufisadi hata umeenda juu zaidi na zaidi.
He urged leaders to serve all citizens equally and uphold justice, words that struck a deep chord across the nation. His message continues to echo in the hearts of many. Quote unquote, we are all called to be protectors of creation, protectors of God's plan inscribed in nature, protectors of one another and of the environment.
As the world comes to terms with the death of Pope Francis, messages of condolence continue to pour in from across the globe. Here in Kenya, the Catholic Bishop of Kakamega, Joseph Obanyi Sagwe, has described the late pontiff as a courageous voice for the poor, a tireless advocate for human dignity, and a true ambassador of peace.
Now, during an interview with Capuchin TV, Bishop Obanyi said Pope Francis was a leader who deeply valued human life, especially the lives of the poor and marginalized. He further held the Pope's commitment to unity and dialogue, noting that he offered direction and counsel to people of all faiths without discrimination.
The bishop also recalled the Pope's memorable visit to Kenya, where he chose to visit informal settlements, a gesture that, according to Bishop Obanyi, speaks volumes about the Pope's humility and closeness to ordinary people.
Take a look.
Our condolences to all Catholics, because this is our leader, all of us. But he meant a lot also in the world. In the world, not only to Catholics, because he stood for values that go across humanity. He stood for human dignity. He stood for the poorest to be defended and also be, helped so that they can feel dignified. He was able to visit people even in their humblest abodes. We remember in 2015 when he came and he went to Kangemi, to the, the slums. That means is one Pope who valued the human person despite his condition. If you went to Europe, he defended the flow of immigrants. He kept on telling leaders it's not good to stop them, but it's good to welcome them, and then make up programs on how can they be helped, so that because they are running away from poverty, they are running away from suffering, they are running away from war. So you could see a man really who has a heart for the people and all people.
Well, indeed, he was the people's Pope, and we here at Capuchin TV, we continue to pray for the repose of the soul of the Holy Father, Pope Francis.
And we condole with all the Catholics in the entire world over the demise of the bishop.
Absolutely, and you've heard that from the stories pouring out and the tributes. He touched millions of hearts globally, not just from the Catholic faithful, but even those that are from other faiths, right?
Yes.
Now on to other stories.
The government has taken its Mashinani outreach program to Ikolomani constituency in Kakamega County in a bid to scale up entrepreneurship and job creation at grassroots level.
Cooperatives and MSMEs Development Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya led a high-profile sensitization forum aimed at educating the public on transformative programs under the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority.
The CS emphasized on the government's commitment to empowering small business through key initiatives such as Nyota and KJET, designed to create jobs and uplift local communities. Our reporter Lana Diva has more on this.
Yes.
It was a day of opportunity in Ekolomani. As Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives and MSMEs Development, Wycliffe Oparanya engaged local entrepreneurs and youth in spirited sensitization forum under the National Government Mashinani Outreach Program.
Na serikali ina lengo la kuona ya kwamba karibu youth milioni 1 kwa miaka 3 wamepata mahali pa kutegemea kama wana youth.
The outreach, spearheaded by the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority, sought to raise awareness of critical initiatives designed to support small-scale businesses and unlock grassroots potential.
Tunajua youth wengi ndio wanasumbuka, hawana kazi, hawana vile wanaweza kuendeleza maisha yao.
CS Oparanya reaffirmed the government's dedication to inclusive economic growth through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, describing small enterprises as the backbone of the country's development.
Sisi katika wizara, mpaka tushirikiane na wabunge, mpaka tushirikiane na MCA, wabunge nao washirikiane na MCA, washirikiane na county, ndio wajue wale vijana katika kila ward, vijana wachukuliwe, na tuliamuru vijana 70 kuanza training katika kila ward.
Among the flagship programs highlighted were the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement Nyota and the Kenya's Jobs and Economic Transformation Project, both under MSME.
Hii program ya Nyota na Gadget ni program kubwa kabisa ambayo serikali itatumia karibu bilioni 33, na mmeambiwa vile iko.
Area MP Bernard Shinyali echoed the call, urging young people to take full advantage of the Nyota and KJET programs by embracing innovation, entrepreneurship, and active participation, transforming their lives.
This program is free. Wale may apply, organize yourself, we form a database. Tujue nani aliapply na sisi tufuate. Mimi niko pale. Kazi yangu ni kufuata, kuhakikisha nyinyi mpate haki yenu. So the issue of mentorship must be clear. Na sisi tujue mpango kama ni ya vijana.
These are not just projects, Oparanya said, but strategic tools to create employment and build resilience in local economies.
Mimi, Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga na Mheshimiwa President William Samoei Ruto wamenipa nafasi ya kuwa chairman wa Trade, Industries and Cooperatives. Na hii mipango mnaona hapa vijana, is good you have come. Tumeanza. Every time tunapika firimbi, nataka system zenu zikuwe alert. Hizo program we benefit.
Afadhali kupewa ndoano na uende mwenyewe kufish. Na serikali imeonelea kwamba vijana wasikae idle. Unajua na idle mind, the devil inaweza ingia ndani. Muchukue hizi mafunzo mmefunzwa hapa kwa maanani. Serikali ikiwa na miradi, kwa sababu najua matanga kuna makelele mingi, hata amsikii vitu mtu akitaka kusema. Wengine wananunua wengine kuja kupiga makelele, hamwezi sikia. Na hapa mmesikia kwa utaratibu, mmejua pesa zenye ziko za serikali, mchukue mfanyie miradi zenu.
With initiatives like this reaching deep into the grassroots, the government hopes to spark a wave of enterprise that drives Kenyans' economic future from the bottom up. Reporting for the Catholic Focus, I'm Alan Andiva.
Well, thank you, Alan, for that story. And from Kakamega, we head to Kiambu County. Kenyans struggling with delays in acquiring certificates of good conduct may soon have a reason to smile. Newly sworn-in Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs, Geoffrey Ruku, has vowed to address long-standing inefficiencies in the processing of the critical document.
During an early morning tour of the Kiambu Huduma Center in Thika, CS Ruku has revealed that plans are underway to decentralize passport issuance to Huduma centers across the country, a move that could benefit thousands of Kenyans seeking opportunities abroad. And
Susan Bulemi brings us that story in details.
At the crack of dawn in Thika town, the newly appointed Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku arrived unannounced at the Kiambu Huduma Center, pouncing on officers already on the ground and ready to serve. The early morning tour was not just symbolic. It marked the Cabinet Secretary's first public move to address service delivery concerns dogging critical departments under his docket.
There is an issue to do with the police clearance, that is good conduct. When they take the necessary details, getting police or good conduct from DCI is taking some time. We'll be working very closely with the DCI to ensure there is smooth very smooth and quick release of the good conduct of those who are applying, of the Kenyans who are applying for good conduct.
Top on his list, the delayed issuance of certificates of good conduct, a document many Kenyans say they wait weeks, even months to receive, costing them vital job and travel opportunities. And in a move likely to excite thousands of Kenyans seeking jobs abroad, the CS announced that the government is exploring the possibility of decentralizing passport services to Huduma centers.
There is one service which most of the Kenyans come to Huduma centers to ask whether it is orphaned, and we'll be working, we'll see how we can synchronize with the Ministry of Immigration to ensure also passports registration can be also processed from the Huduma centers. And then when it comes to going to fill other necessary requirement, they can go to Nya House or other areas where immigration services are offered. But as a government, we will work to see whether we can have many immigration services offered at Huduma centers.
The CS didn't mince words on civil service accountability either, warning that government officials who fail to deliver will face disciplinary action in accordance with the law.
We are not here to intimidate anybody. We are here to ensure we do what we signed for.
Ruku, who succeeded Justin Muturi as the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, emphasized the need for public servants to create a conducive environment for both local and foreign investment, underscoring a new tone of urgency in citizen service delivery.
We have to ensure what Article 232 of our Constitution talks about is in us, all the public servants across the Republic of Kenya. So those who have applied for driving license through NTSA, please come and correct your driving license. We have birth certificates across many Huduma centers, the 52 Huduma centers we have in the Republic of Kenya.
Reporting for Catholic Focus, my name is Susan Bulemi.
Thanks, Susan Bulemi, for that comprehensive report. Moving on, over 2,000 families and several learning institutions in Angurai East Ward, Teso North constituency may soon breathe a sigh of relief following the completion of a clean water supply project in their area.
The Kenyan shillings 25 million project constructed at Kolanya Girls National School is a partnership between the county government of Busia and the World Bank. It aims to improve access to safe and clean water for local residents, many of whom have long struggled to get reliable water sources.
Residents have welcomed the development, calling it a game changer that will ease the burden of walking long distance in search of clean water.
Busia Governor Dr. Paul Otoma says the county has now embraced solar-powered water systems that harness sunlight to pump and distribute water, a move he says is meant to cut down on the high costs of electricity and ensure sustainability of supply.
Let's have a look.
Watu wa eneo hili wameteseka sana kwa muda mrefu wakitafuta maji kutoka sehemu mbalimbali ili waweze kufanya kazi katika familia zao. Kwa hivyo hii mradi ya serikali ya county ambao tunaambiwa kwamba is funded by World Bank itasaidia sana jamii kwa sababu maji itafika mpaka mashinani. Na sisi kama wakazi wa Kolanya na watu wa Angurai East Ward, kwa sababu hii maji itatoka Kolanya iende mpaka Changara, Chamasiri, na watu ambao huu mradi itawafikia itawanufaisha sana.
Sisi hapo mbeleni tulikuwa tunateseka. Tulikuwa tunapata maji kutoka kwa zile mitoni ndogo ndogo ile ambayo watu wanachota hata kutumia bakuli, vikombe. Lakini naona huu mradi ukifaulu itatusaidia kama wakazi wa Kolanya. Hizi pipe zikipelekwa kwa maboma, alafu kuna centers kama mahali penye kuna junction penye watu wanaweza kutana wakichota, inaweza saidia.
You're aware that Busia is a low-lying area. And when now we disengaged from Lake Victoria North, it meant that our water provision has to be energy driven. Because when we were under Lake Victoria North, remember those areas of Kakamega, Bungoma. So we were able to somehow have some form of subsidy within the Lake Victoria organization, because there are those counties that didn't need to pump their water. But in Busia, unfortunately, most of our water schemes, because we are low-lying, we need to pump water. That means we need to use energy. And you know the cost of electricity. So this has really affected that service. But now with this, what we are calling green energy, and the new programs that we have put in place, including FLOCA, we are seeing how best to address the energy requirements that are, sustainable, and also be able to give people water. And in an environmentally, what we are saying, friendly manner, because we're also looking at the component of climate change. How do we preserve the environment? Because it's only a preserved environment that you can get clean water. And our key emphasis on the water schemes here, because we are pumping, because being a low-lying area, is to emphasize on technologies that give us lower costs of energy.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Catholic Focus. As the Church navigates this historic moment of transition, we stand united in prayer and hope.
Absolutely, Charles. And from us here at Catholic Focus, thank you for watching. Let us continue to carry forward the values Pope Francis championed of justice, mercy, and care for one another. Just keep it Capuchin TV. We will be bringing you updates from the heart of the Catholic Church that is in Vatican, Rome, on the updates of the funeral of Pope Francis.
And on behalf of our entire production team and sign language interpreter, Eric Maluki, we wish you a blessed evening.